Just a little spinning thing. Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay, there we are. We are live. Hello, BariAftercare friends. Welcome to today's podcast episode. And we have a full house. This is going to be a lot of fun, something I haven't done a whole lot of, but we are going to have a group discussion today because I thought this is a topic that we need to hear from the people who are actually experiencing this and going through it. And the topic is fear of success following weight loss surgery. Oftentimes, of course, the obvious fear is fear of failure, but today we're going to talk about the opposite of that, fear of success. Specifically, what we're going to do before I introduce you to the guests is I'll just tell you kind of the outline. We're going to talk about common reasons why people fear success after weight loss. And maybe you hadn't thought about this before. Maybe you've given it a little bit of thought. But I know that our panel today is going to give you a lot of good things to consider. Not that we want to increase your fears, but we want to let things be reality so we can deal with them either before they come up or as they come up. And we'll also talk about common reasons people fear success in general. So, this may be something specific to your weight loss journey, or it could be broader than that, because, of course, in BariAftercare, we go beyond bariatrics. We also need to talk about why maybe you're holding on to these fears. What could be behind? I'm going to hold tight to these fears. They're serving some purpose. What kind of purpose might they be serving? And then how do we go about addressing these fears so that we can move them out of the way and you can have just ongoing success without sabotage that could be related to those fears of success? So let's go ahead and introduce our panelists today. Carolyn, I'm going to start with you. So, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, like where you live, when you had your surgery. Don't go into the topic yet. We'll get to that, okay?
Okay. I'm Carolyn. I am from Bryan College Station, Texas.
Go Aggies.
And yes, I had my surgery November 30th of 2020. So I fasted during Thanksgiving and I couldn't eat solid foods during Christmas.
Wow.
In one way, that was one of the hardest things I did. On the other hand, I realized that if I waited till after Christmas, I would probably have gorged myself thinking, "This is the last time I'm gonna be able to eat any of this," which is not true, but, I really had those fears.
Absolutely. So, you have had your surgery over 4 years ago.
Mhm,
Awesome.
mhm.
Okay. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Miss Beverly.
Hey, I had my surgery. Um, February the 15th will be 2 years.
2 years, Beverly?
It'll be 2 years since I've
Okay.
had my surgery. And if I'll go back and look at things ago, I couldn't walk. So I am truly blessed today.
Yes, a lot has changed. All right, welcome. And you live here in the Atlanta
I live
area.
in Gaines. I live about 50 miles north,
Okay, in
and
Lake
my surgery
Country.
was.
All right, so glad that you're joining us today. All right, and Michelle, the newest to the surgical world.
Hi. Yep, Michelle. I just had my surgery on January 24th. So coming up on 2 weeks.
Oh
So
my
what,
gosh.
a week and just a couple of days. I live here in Snellville, so just a little east of Atlanta.
This is fun. So we've got Carolyn, who's 4 years out, Beverly, 2 years out, and Michelle, 2 weeks out from surgery. Sorry about that. So it'll be interesting to hear what your fears are related to success at these different stages post surgery. And what I've done is I've done a little bit of research and I've made a list of the common fears that have been reported by patients over the years related to success following significant weight loss. So we're going to see if your responses line up with what other people have said. So I'm going to start with you, Carolyn, because you're the furthest out from surgery, and just share with us just some of the fears you have related to success and what your thought process was as you went about thinking about what you were going to say today. And then we'll go back over some of these in greater detail.
I think my top fear is regain. Um, I've done a lot of different weight loss things, Weight Watchers, um, uh, just a lot of different things that um, I always wound back up at square one, and usually added more on after that when I quit trying on those things. And this is and I've had a little bit of regain with this one, and I'm back on the horse and staying straight and focusing on what I'm doing. And so I am now have gone past what I had regained and have lost a little bit more. So I'm really happy about that. One of the hardest things is to sell or donate or whatever, or burn my clothes, because I've always regained. I've not wanted those nice clothes to be taken out of the house for fear, well, I'm gonna need them again, so why buy new clothes
So
or,
that
replace
would
them?
that would be almost like a fear of failure, right?
Yes, yeah,
Fear of
yeah.
regain. What kind of
Mhm.
fears do you have about being successful?
Oh, successful? Um, see, I think I think sometimes there've been a few, not a whole lot, but people who will, tell me, "Well, the average Joe does not keep it all off."
Okay.
And it's like, "Well, why am I sharing this with you then?"
So that could be maybe stated like, I fear success because people come at me with some negativity
Mhm,
from
mhm.
time to time.
And
Right.
I yeah, and I fear I probably don't have as much fear as I did in the beginning. It is hard to think of fear of success on something, but even well, if I'm successful losing, then I'm gonna have a lot of nasty skin and flab, and will my
Okay.
husband still love me?
Okay, that's a beautiful example because I think a lot of people fear what is my body image going to be like? What am I
Yeah,
going to look like and how am I going to feel about that? And how is my partner going to feel about that? So that is a real valid fear of success for sure. And honestly, the fear of failure that you were talking about is related to a fear of success too, because it's like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to maintain this because I don't want to go back where I was. So you kind of fear that having to maintain.
mhm, mhm.
Make sense?
So and, um I think you kinda but in all of that, I've thought, "What if I get through all of this and I don't love myself more?"
Oh gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. So is it accurate? Am I hearing you correctly? You're saying, okay, so I've long thought that my some of my dislike of self is related to my weight.
Mhm, mhm,
And then I lose this weight and I can't say this lack of love for self is related to the weight because that's not there anymore. What if I
mhm.
just don't like myself for other reasons?
Yeah, so I'm working on it.
That is a great point. You bring up excellent, excellent points. Were these things you were aware of prior to having surgery, or are these things that you have become aware of since losing the weight?
I think worrying about regain, about, um, um, uh, I I I think the big one was the regain. The idea of not loving myself more did not I guess I thought, "Oh, I'll be so much better." I don't know. I think I will.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very honest. All right. Hold on to that. Beverly, have you been aware of any additional fears related to ongoing success following this weight loss other than what Carolyn already mentioned?
Being successful at it stays. Like, I can't believe I have been.
Mm.
And the fear getting out of my comfort zones, because I've
Ah,
had to get out of some comfort zones. It's because life has changed dramatically.
that is such a great point. So, fear of discomfort in different areas of life. Is
I've
that
been
correct?
hid in my I've been hid in my shell of a life, and now I'm having to come forth out of it.
Oh my gosh, we're going to talk about that in great detail because I think that is a big fear for a lot of people. You encounter different aspects of life that maybe your weight protected you from, or sheltered you from, or kept you from participating in. And I know, I mean, I've known Carolyn and Beverly for a while. So, Carolyn, I know that you've always been pretty active and pretty engaged in life. Beverly, you have not for some years, right? So, there's a
Right.
lot of those kinds of fears that maybe you and some others face that maybe weren't as big of fears for somebody like Carolyn, although some of that may apply too. And we'll go back to her in just a minute with that. So, Beverly, hang on to that because I think within that one fear of success, all those areas that have opened up in your life, there's probably 20 we'll explore, okay? Because there's a lot of unknown and new arenas of your life taking place. So,
Yeah.
Michelle, you're brand new to this. And I don't know if this is something you've given any thought to prior. I mean, you're still in the beginning of this weight loss journey. And I don't know your history. So I don't know if there's been prior weight loss and regain. But as you listen to Carolyn and Beverly or on your own, have you thought about, gosh, it kind of scares me when I lose this weight? I'm afraid of whatever, whatever.
Well, yeah, in fact, some of it's kept me from having the surgery for a number of years. I'm afraid of not losing the weight, but then I'm afraid of losing too much weight. And my husband likes curvy women, so of course it's always in the back of my mind, if I lose weight, is he still going to find me attractive? Um, and it's something that I just kind of had to put to the side and make a preference for my health above anything else. And so I have to keep telling myself I wouldn't be around for him to love if I continued the way that I was going.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Again, body image stuff, right?
It's body image. It's the skin, the
Yep.
having loose skin. It's losing the hair. Seeing all the videos of people commenting on losing their hair. I am Hispanic, and so we tend to eat a lot of things it's a lot of rice, it's a lot of potatoes, it's a lot of fried foods, um, and it's that long term being able to figure out ways to incorporate my culture with a diet change is kind of the harder part, and then also getting my family to do it as well, so that way I'm not feeling as tempted when I'm preparing meals, for example, for my family.
That is great. So we have so many great topics that you guys brought up. Relationships for those of you who are in relationships, the fear of, can I keep this up? The fear of the cultural thing. How do I incorporate my culture while maintaining a healthier lifestyle? Um, here are some other things, and before we go to your specific issues that you brought up, I wanna ask, because these are some of the things that I found in the literature. So first of all, Carolyn, you mentioned this right off the bat, fear of failure, like keeping this up, maintaining the success. And I like that you brought up the fact that you did struggle with some regain, but you made your mind up that I'm gonna get back in there and I'm gonna do what it takes and I'm gonna follow through. And I'm kind of chuckling with Carolyn because that is her phrase for the year is following through and looking at ways that you are following through with things. So, is it different for you to be following through with increased attention to the things that got you to lose this weight to begin with? That fear of regain, that fear of maintaining the success.
Um, my brain just kind of went. Start with the beginning of the question.
Well, my
Is it?
question wasn't very clear for one thing. There's really 2 parts to it. So you have this fear of keeping up the success, right? And then
Mm,
as often happens, people experience some regain, not where Michelle's at, not where Beverly's at, but where you're at
mhm.
4 years into this process, there's usually a little bit of regain. You are following through with extra effort. Does that surprise you, given that follow through has been something that's been a struggle for you?
It's well, the follow through has it's like a light went off of how much my life I don't follow through, and so opening my eyes to that has put a new focus on it. I wish I don't want to go through that first year again, but at the same time, I wish I had that first year of how my body took it off faster. So Michelle, work hard this first year, especially because because now I'm working a little bit at a time, a pound at a time. Um, Connie, you've taught us it's not the number, it's the health wise. It's the I think I've shared before at other times of that. I think the big change for me was I have grandchildren and one of them sat in my lap and I couldn't. He kept trying to scoot back in my lap, scoot back in my lap, and he couldn't because I didn't have a lap.
Mm.
And I decided my thought process in my head was I want my lap back. And so that was kind of my goal in my head was I want my lap back. And I have my lap back now and my grandsons don't have to ooch back and wonder why they can't sit in my lap. And so that's a big what is that, a
Non-scale victory of
non-scale
the
victory.
best
And
variety.
and I can keep up with them. Before surgery, the last time I went to Disney World, I had a hard time keeping up, had to stop and, "Y'all go ahead, I'll catch up with you," and I would, but it was frustrating because I had not had that issue previously, and, so the last couple of times I've gone to Disney with the kids, I can keep up, and I don't have to stop and take a breather, and again, non-scale victories, and I had never been taught with eating healthier, with if you wanna say dieting or whatever, I'd never been taught non-scale victories. You're always looking at the number.
I love that. And so this change of, it's almost like oh, I can't remember the word that fancy word, but it's a change of how you're thinking about the whole thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And has that been a help for you?
Mhm. It has. I mean, it's the follow through. It's the one thing that I struggle with still, and I don't I'll figured out one of these days, I guess, is preparing, looking ahead. It's not 5 o'clock in the afternoon that I figure out, oh, I need to think what we want for supper. What's in I can't pull out steaks and have them seasoned and taste good for 6 o'clock when it's 5 o'clock. And I've never been good at those are changes I need to make, is to do more prep, so that I can follow through with my plan to eat healthier, to get healthier.
Okay. So, one of the things you said was about your skin and your relationship. And so, that fear, that fear of success, how have you dealt with that in your relationship? Because this is a common thing. And I think that it's important that people talk about this. My body changes. And I'm going to come to you, Michelle, and ask this because I thought it when we were talking earlier. Are you and your husband talking about that? Because he prefers curvy girls. But how have you and your partner dealt with that, Carolyn?
It doesn't bother him. It bothers me more than it does him. I think and I get the idea from everything that females, it bothers females a lot more than it bothers males.
I would
Um,
agree.
Down the road, when I know you don't like numbers, but when I get to that number that I'm satisfied with, I don't, I'm fine staying here. I don't have to go down any further. Um, he has said, if I want plastic surgery, we'll figure that out. I'm not at that stage. Um, I'm not looking or anything like that, but probably the biggest thing I would want is my arm flaps, just because there's clothes that I have tried on that fit me everywhere already, but I can't get my arms through it because of the the
Mhm,
thickness of
mhm.
my biceps, I guess, or lack thereof. And so, I have to find fun, blousy sleeves if I'm gonna wear something with sleeves. And
Mhm.
so, but he seems fine with it. But part of
So,
that is our relationship and our love and everything that gets us through that. But it does bother me, and that's probably all the self-image.
mhm.
Um, he sees me as the person, I see me as what do I look like a lot of times.
That's a beautiful distinction. So, as you go further along in your journey, and maybe one of the fears of success was maybe my husband won't like my body.
Right.
Now, having affirmation that it really doesn't bother him, but maybe it's something that you can work on your own.
Mhm.
So, Michelle, you mentioned that your husband likes curvy women, and you had to make the decision to put your health above his desire for a curvy body. And so, are
Mhm.
you guys talking about that, or is it one of those things that tension is going to mount over that?
No, we've talked about it quite a bit, and we have a very open and honest
Good.
communication rule. So, we've talked about it, and he just tries to reassure me. He's told me that he likes my body, but he loves me. Um, but I think it's not just him, it's me. There are things about my body that I like. I like my curves. I don't want to be, what the charts say I'm supposed to weigh. I don't want to weigh
Mhm.
that. I don't think that I would look like me.
Right.
So I think some of it is almost, what do you call it? Putting some of that on him, right? Saying I'm worried that he won't love me, but is some of it that I'm worried that I'm not going to love myself. That I'm not
Oh,
going to be happy with my new body and what I look like then at the end.
exactly what Carolyn said, and I think this is a good lesson for everybody listening. And when we talk, when we talk in our groups, and it's like if you think about the people you love in your life, You love them because of who they are, right? What they bring to the world, what they bring to your life, what your interactions with them. And that's what they love about you too. And that's what they love about me too. And yet we are so hard on ourselves. So I think what a lot of us find is that I love your honesty there, Michelle. I want to put a lot of it on him, but really it's mostly about me. And I think when we come to the conclusion of our talk today, it's going to be a lot about how we get past these fears of success is looking at what's bothering us and learning to work through those kinds of things. So, Beverly, you mentioned that a lot of areas of life have opened up for you because you were confined to your home for a very
Yeah,
long time. And
about
so now
4
you're
years.
for 4 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
4
So
years.
what
It was a struggle.
Yeah, so
Very
what kinds
struggle.
of things are you facing now that are very much outside your comfort zone?
Well, I'm kind of the opposite. I'm not in a relationship. I've been a widow for 17 years. And it's like last week at the gym, they had flirted with. It's like, that's new for me. So it's like, am I going to be open to that area again in my life? 'Cause it's been so long. So it was nice to get flirted with,
I'll
but
bet it was,
it's
and
a
I'll
whole, it's a whole new book. It's been 17 years since my
So,
husband passed. So
did you have any and this goes for you other ladies as well. Did you, Beverly, have fear of that kind of sexual attention or just attention in general drawn to, "Oh my gosh, you've lost weight. Oh my gosh, you look so good." And then those thoughts, "Well, why didn't I look good before?" And are there any of those kinds of things going on for you or for either of the other of
probably,
you?
probably a little of both because, will this new person accept my body, accept me? Because it's going to be a learning for me. It's because my body's different. It was 7 years ago.
Nah. Well, that's an understatement, right? Huh, I
It's
think
a
all of
big
our bodies are
understatement.
different than they were 17 years ago.
But it's just a different. It's going to be different. It's been a long time since I've got that kind of attention, and I've always been the person that gives it to others. I'm take learning to accept the attention, the
Right.
good attention, not the bad,
Yes.
but the good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And
it's a whole new era.
that alone can be enough for some people to say, "This is so uncomfortable for me that I would rather be in that heavier body because this is too much for me." So, if any of you listening are experiencing that, then get some support, get some therapy, or get some support because it's a very natural kind of thing to experience. And yet, it can be such a fulfilling thing to experience once you get past those fears. Okay,
It's
go ahead.
it's been a lot of changes, and I'm taking it one day at a time. Because a lot of changes I didn't even expect.
So, I think, Beverly, for you, there's probably been bigger degrees of change. Has that been scary for you?
How has it been scary for me coming out of my shell, coming out of my comfort zone? be willing to say yes and no, and just everyday life. Get dependent that I didn't have for 4 years.
Okay, so for all of you, let me ask you this question. So there's fear of all the things you've talked about. How have you moved forward in spite of having those fears, as opposed to letting those fears overwhelm you or shut down your progress and turn into self-sabotage? Because fears are real and a lot of people face them, and everybody's different. People have different levels of resiliency, different levels of support, different levels of access to support. How have you individually, Carolyn, how have you worked through some of your fears, and what other changes have you experienced in terms of relationships?
Um, that's kind of as far as changes. As and ooh, why do I have to be first? Uh, um, sometimes I just have to sit down and work through my thought process. Um, I have to accept that my husband still loves me, even though I feel ugly, at times. But at the same time, I felt that way before surgery too, because I was
Mm,
overweight. So um, maybe I had those same feelings before. They're just the
you know
focus has
what?
changed a little bit.
I love that you said that, because I believe that that is a truthful statement for most of us. And I believe that a lot of people hope or believe that that will go away with weight loss, and it doesn't.
Mhm.
So, one of the points that I really try to make to people is whatever issues you have, you're still going to have after surgery. We hope and we pray that this is the happy ever after and all my insecurities will go away and I'm going to feel like $1,000,000 and I'm going to have confidence and I'm going to automatically be able to set boundaries and I'm automatically going to be. That doesn't happen just because you have significant weight loss or in other areas of change because you got a raise or because you moved to another part of the country. We take ourselves with us and we take our issues with us regardless of our weight. And so I think one of the takeaways that I want people to understand is as you go into this, first of all, think about what your fears might be and maybe get a head start on those. Beverly, oh my gosh, I'm going to be out in the world. I'm going to be facing people. I'm going to have attention. Um, you know, Friends are going to talk to me about my weight loss or they're going to comment and Michelle, you're just getting there and you've got this culture that's going to be like, why aren't you eating? You're not eating enough. There's going to be all kinds of those things. And so thinking ahead of those things, like these are some concerns. How do I maintain my cultural values and my love of food and things like that? So for those people who haven't gotten into the surgical process yet, I think it's good to think about the fears. But for everybody, I want you to think about what were my personal deep down issues before surgery, and aren't they still there, only in another form? Because if we don't work through something, it's still there. It's just going to show up a little differently, which Carolyn just pointed out. It's like, wow, I felt this way before. I still feel this way. It is totally a me issue. So we need to dig deep, right? And we need to go, surgery is a great tool for helping me get to a healthier place in my body and my life and to be able to do all of these wonderful things. But it's not going to change who I am if I have things to change or learn. And I don't want fear of unknown to be a big enough factor that I go back to hiding. Okay, so I'm going to read to you guys a list of other things that people have said, and I just want you to kind of pipe in. All right. We mentioned fear of failure. What about the fear of losing the comfort of food? Did any of you experience that?
I lost my best
Yeah.
friend. I felt after surgery, probably the first 2 weeks after surgery, I had buyer's remorse, um, and thought, "What have I done? My life will never be the same again." But the taste, the all the things that I use to comfort me that I had control of. No, I mean, your friends and everybody can help comfort you, but you don't have control of your friends. You have control of what you're putting in your mouth. Um, and now I couldn't put those things in my mouth. Therefore, I had no control over I had to find another thing to make me happy. And part of it was just my whole emotions of everything there was hard. And with it being during COVID, my kids and grandkids stayed away for a little while. I mean, beforehand, so I wouldn't get sick before surgery, and then afterwards till I felt a and so all my close comfort things were not necessarily there.
So that left you kind of wide open and vulnerable emotionally.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, we're going to talk about that because it's a biggie. Yeah. How about the rest of you as far as losing the comfort, the fear of, the comfort of food?
It was my emotional support, and through the all the things I was going through the last 20, it was my emotional support. It
Yes,
what got me through when things were I was feeling overwhelmed. So
absolutely.
it's been my emotional go-to.
So, right. So, two of you, Michelle.
For me, I wouldn't say it was my emotional support. I was never an emotional eater, but I was very much a social eater. I love cooking. I absolutely love cooking. I love having people come to my house and, cooking a lot of food and so of course, eating a lot of food and every celebration there's a ton of food for
Mhm.
just, silly little celebrations. And so for me, that's the hard part. It's the how do I have a celebration now, um, and still be able to make people happy because I think I kind of tied. I loved to see people's reactions when I cook something. So it's now there's almost a fear of am I still going to be able to get that reaction from somebody and it's healthier food that I'm able to eat, or are they going to be, is this carrot food? Are we rabbits? And they're going to make those
Right.
jokes that are going to make me feel uncomfortable,
Mhm.
just because I have to eat like that now.
So, in all three cases, we're talking about a loss, right? So, loss of comfort, a loss of stabilization when so many things are out of control in your life, maybe, or a loss of this is part of my identity. This is how I make people happy. A loss of this is a thing that brings us together and brings me joy and other people joy. So those losses, and I think that's a huge part that people fear. I'll never be able to enjoy food in the same way, or I'll never be able to. And when it's about emotional, then you absolutely have to find some healthier ways to deal. And I think for a lot of people who have surgery, that can come as a surprise. A lot of people go in knowing food is a social, or I mean, a comfort emotionally. But for some people, that's a big surprise. Hence, I think a lot of the um, transfer problems. But in the case of, like you, Michelle, finding either a way to, you know, make really good, healthy food that people make a fuss over as well, you know, or finding other ways to meet that need that you have. Because there's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with the need, right? All right. How about so we talked about fear of attention. Um, Michelle or Carolyn, have you experienced that fear of attention, whether it's maybe not necessarily sexual attention or flirtation like Beverly's experiencing for the first time in 17 years, but maybe like all this fuss about your weight or your size, or is that uncomfortable?
Well, for me, I have a fear of somebody blaming the weight loss on the surgery. And yes, the surgery is a fabulous tool to get there, but I have to work my butt off. You know, I've
Yes,
had
you
to
do.
work my butt off since deciding to have the surgery. I lost what 40 pounds before the surgery ever came up. And
Wow.
even now, you know, it's expensive. This diet is expensive. So, and it takes a lot to track everything and make sure that I'm keeping up with my protein goals, and especially right now that I'm still just on the puree diet. You know, am I meeting all of my goals? And I think I do have a fear of someone almost judging me, um, because I think there's a negative stigma, like it's the easy way out. Um,
Yes.
and this was very much the last choice that I felt like I had
Yeah.
to get my life back on track.
Mhm.
My grandmother passed at 56. My mom had her stroke at 56, and I'm 43. So I felt as though I had a ticking time bomb,
Yep.
and I felt like it was urgent. And others are not going to understand that in my
That's
life.
exactly right. That's exactly right. It takes a thick skin too to not be affected by what other people think and how they feel. I mean, we're kind of acculturated to that. So part of that is getting, support for people to say, listen, it doesn't matter what they think. Anybody who's had bariatric surgery or lost weight any other way knows the reality that to keep weight off, you got to work hard at it, And so whatever they think, they think. And working hard not to be affected by that can be difficult, right? I mean, that's just a reality. And comments about, "Oh, you've lost weight." Carolyn, did you get any of that from people or
Yeah, in fact, yesterday was one of those big days, that where that happened, and, um, I I don't maybe I've always liked attention, so it doesn't that I mean, to some extent positive attention, let's say that. Um, Depending on what I wear, my weight loss is more noticeable at times. Um, I'm 63. I have never worn leggings because, well, they just showed too much curve for me, and now I'm putting leggings on and a long shirt, and it looks cool, and I'm like, am I too old to wear this? Am I too" Um, and but it makes me feel better. I like how it looks, and yes, I do. I am getting as time is going on, I'm getting more compliments and stuff, and it's nice. It's nice to notice that my brothers notice when I go to visit, or, I go to a function on campus and somebody says, "Man, you're looking great." Um, and it almost it helps reinforce me to stay focused on the goal. And uh and I know there's times where it's going to back up, but you know, it's two steps forward, one step back. I'm
Mhm.
still going in the right direction.
Yeah. And
So,
it's interesting because for you, that's a positive, right? Getting that positive
mhm.
reinforcement. For other people, those kind of comments just piss them off because it's like, why are you commenting on how good I look now? Did I not look good before? So be who you are. And if that kind of comment pisses you off, then talk to somebody, talk to a friend, talk to a therapist, get your emotions out. You don't have to blast somebody. We don't know people's intentions. We don't know if they are intending to give you a compliment or whatever. You respond how you respond, and it's okay however that affects you. But if it's something that's interfering in your happiness, then get some help to work through it and do what you got to do with that. Because it's really a you issue, right? How you feel is a you issue. Whether it's like, oh, I really like that kind of compliment, that's a you issue. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Or if it really ticks you off, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing either. It's just where you're coming from. So, one person's trash is another person's treasure, right? So, however you feel is okay. So, let me read to you some of the information from like the literature, the psychological literature. And did you know, friends, that fear is the number one thing that holds people back from going for what they want? Fear, and it could be fear of failure, it could be fear of success. Either way, the point is it's very normal to have fears. It may be that you have a fear of somebody commenting on you, or maybe that you have a fear of nobody commenting, you know? But whatever your fears are, let them be real because it is a huge factor in our going toward what we want. And think about it. You've got one little life to live. One little life to live. What are you going to do with that life? Don't let fear hold you back. We all have fears, normal, part of the deal. Let's address those and let them be real so we can work through those. So it's normal to have fear of failure, which, I think for anybody who's struggled with weight and lost and gained, that's it. That's got to be the number one fear, right? Regain. But those fears of success, right? There's a huge fear of the process, right? A fear of what's going to happen in the future. How are people going to treat me different? How is life going to treat me different? How are expectations of me going to be different? How are my expectations of me going to be different? So, what if I feel deprived all the time? Or what if, what if, what if, what if? It's part of the journey. So write down your fears and let them be real. Just don't keep them in. Because I know that as you guys are sharing your fears, everybody listening, some people are going, yeah, that's a thing for me, fear of the loss of comfort of food. And other people are like, Michelle, it's like, no, that's not really it for me. But here is a fear. Let's talk about this fear related to unrealistic expectations, because I think this is one of the biggest things that people deal with. I'm fearful of success. Now, every single one of you has already experienced success, right? Carolyn, you got those grandkids snuggling up close to you. You keeping up with them at Disney World. Beverly, you are out there, out of your house after being in the house for 4 years. You are at the gym. You are learning to set boundaries with people. We've talked about that. You are out there, taking care of yourself for a change. Michelle, you have lost 40 pounds before the surgery. You are already working hard. So part of my sadness when it comes to significant weight loss by whatever means are people's unrealistic expectations regarding the amount of weight loss and what they think that's going to mean for their life. When I already hear so much success. So my sadness is that people tend to go, oh yeah, well, there's that. There's that. I'm off all the medicines and yeah, I'm keeping up with the kids and I'm doing all the things. But and that just breaks my heart. So, as you think about this unrealistic expectation thing, Carolyn, 4 years out, Michelle, heading in, Beverly, 2 years in, are there things that you can think of that maybe you have or had unrealistic expectations about in relation to weight loss?
The amount of weight I would lose right after and how quickly it's going to come off. I think I step on the scale and I expect to lose 10 pounds a day. And it's just, it's it's not the way that that it works. So I still trying to wrap my head around that. And I'm a very type A person. You know, I wouldn't know how everything is going to happen before it happens.
Mm.
Um, so just trying to figure out, okay, so when am I going to start seeing change in myself? When am I going to be able to know? Am I ever going to be able to notice it?
So, what I want to say to you is, what changes have you seen with 40 pounds of weight loss?
Um, I walk up the stairs with both feet now. I for the longest time, I hurt my leg in 2021, have a metal plate in it, and for the
Oh.
longest time, I could only use one leg going up the stairs. It was like, step up.
Mm-hmm.
And I about cried the other day when I realized I could use both feet to, and it's just something so silly, but it was so exciting. Um, and picking up something off of the ground right now, maybe not so much because I just had surgery, but
Right.
being able to pick up something off the ground without knocking my breath out was really exciting to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put on a pair of leggings and a sports bra one day, just trying to show it to my daughter. And she was gassing me up, Mom, you should go to the gym like that. And I was like, no, I'm not. We're not at that point yet. No.
Mm.
But that was exciting that she had noticed
So,
something.
here's what I want to say to you, because this is a perfect example. Our expectations are out here, and yet we're missing the outcome that's happening right in front of us. When am I going to see changes? Girlfriend, you just explained to me several changes you are
That's true.
already seeing. And so, please, everybody, acknowledge rather than dismiss what is happening, the positive things that are taking place versus your expectations, which are going to set you up for disappointment every time. Our expectations, friends, are in direct proportion to our disappointments, always and forever, always and forever. So if we could say, my expectation is to be healthier and do things that I couldn't do before, you will realize I am doing that, and stay away from the yeah, but I'm not at this weight and I'm not at that weight. I'm not wearing that size clothes and which is tragic, tragic. So look at what's actually real, because you're probably missing it and it's right in front of your face. So don't overlook the benefits that are happening along the way, because these expectations are something that really set people up for disappointment. Carolyn, Beverly.
I had to learn to accept I was going to be a slow loser because I had already lost quite a bit of weight before I had weight loss surgery. And, my body was in a different phase when I had weight loss surgery. So I've had to accept that I'm a slow loser, but I'm getting there because all of us want it to just profit. And that's just the way it is. We want it, but it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. And in this process of being a slow loser, look at what you have gained.
I've lost a whole person.
Yes, you've lost a whole person in terms of weight. What have you gained in terms of living?
My freedom.
That's a big thing.
My freedom because I don't have to depend on somebody else to get things done. I go do it myself now.
Hmm.
I mean, I still had to do it when I couldn't move much, but it's different now. I can go where I used to couldn't last an hour, now a whole day.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just like going to the gym and to water aerobics. I couldn't do that, and I love going to the water aerobics. I've met
Hmm.
a bunch of little ladies. It's very interesting.
Right.
And, I'm 66 years old. And I remind myself every day, I could do a nursing home today.
That's right.
Because 4 years ago, I was not in a good place. I was not in a good place.
Right. And so gaining the freedom to go and do what you want to go and do is phenomenal. Phenomenal. All right. So I'm going to read a list of other things that people fear in terms of success. And this is a big one when it comes to the weight loss world, too. People fear making a mistake because so many people are perfectionists. And that, my friends, just FYI, is not something to wear as a badge of honor. Perfectionism is a very unhealthy characteristic and trait because what it does is it amplifies the fact that we don't feel very good about ourselves. And if I could just be perfect, then nobody would have anything to point out. So we don't want to be perfectionists. And what we want to do is when we make a mistake, say, what can I learn from this? And how do I prevent that next time? So people are afraid to make changes because, oh my God, what if I make a mistake? What are people going to think? That you're human. People fear extra responsibility. Beverly, I hear you embracing the extra responsibility, the freedom that comes from doing that what you want. Some people are afraid to lose weight because then other people will expect them to do things for themselves, and they don't trust that they're capable of doing things for themselves. So sometimes the fear of responsibility, if I'm successful, keeps me from making the changes I need to make, or the fear of being exposed. And that could be getting that attention that people sometimes don't want. Or it could be fear of the changes in relationships, because we know that relationships change after significant weight loss. And so sometimes it's like, I'm so fearful that he or she is going to leave me that I'm going to stay stuck where I'm at because it's more comfortable. And I'm reading this book right now called The Mountain Is You. And it talks about how we are our biggest obstacle because we're so familiar with where we're at. We get so comfortable with our discomfort. We get so comfortable with our own misery that when we move outside of that, it's frightening. So people who stay in abusive relationships because that's what they're familiar with. And anything outside of that is just so foreign and terrifying. Or people who stay, who regain their weight because it's too scary out there. You know, yes, I want to be healthier and thinner, but that world is so scary. And those fears may override the desire to be healthy. So, understanding that this discomfort, this emotional discomfort, or this fear of change or separation or the newness and not knowing what to expect can be significant for people. So significant that they find their way back to what is their comfort zone, even though it's very uncomfortable. A lot of uncertainty. It's uncertain to move to a different country or move to a different body, so to speak. There's so much uncertainty. And then there's the issues of people who might be envious or want to sabotage you. And that might just be too much. It's like, I can't handle all that conflict or all that drama. Or there's the shift in identity. Well, I'm the one who cooks. I'm the one who throws the parties. I'm the one, this is what I'm known for. What, maybe people won't want me around, or maybe they don't really like me. They just like that I can throw a good party. And if I can't do that anymore, will they want me? So there's so many uncertainties. And this imposter thing. I've been overweight all my life. I don't know how to be this person. I feel like an imposter in my own body. And it's so uncomfortable that I'm going to go back where I came from. So there are a lot of things that are not conscious level fears. But when we start to regain, or when we start to go back to old ways, these are things that are worth asking ourselves. And I'm going to go over a list of questions real quickly that you can ask yourself, you know, if I regain my weight, or if I go back into this unhealthy relationship, or if I go back, if I let go of that promotion and go back to my old job, what is it I'm avoiding? Am I avoiding additional responsibility because I don't trust myself? Am I avoiding social contact because I'm just so uncomfortable in that? Am I avoiding, having people depend on me? I can't handle that. What do I get to avoid by staying stuck? Who do I get to punish? Are there people I'm punishing by not changing my communication style, or by, am I punishing somebody by not picking up my clothes even though they say it bothers them? You know, is there any kind of passive aggressive message associated with my staying in an uncomfortable place? What emotions am I holding on to that my weight protects me from? If I let go of the weight, or if I let go of the comfort of food, Carolyn, you alluded to this, you know, am I uncomfortable? Am I nervous? Am I anxious? Am I angry? Am I afraid? When I talk to people about what are they afraid of regarding losing regain, they talk about the feelings. I was so uncomfortable when I lost weight. Those emotions were just so much for me. Am I manipulating with self-pity? Oh, poor me, I can't do anything. People keep people in their life that way, believe it or not. Just things to ask you. Am I feeling better than somebody else? Am I feeling less than somebody else? Am I more comfortable feeling like, oh, I'm less than, or I'm a victim? Am I more comfortable in that role than being successful? What am I afraid of losing by being successful? Am I afraid of losing dependency on other people? Am I afraid of losing um, my ability to, be waited on? Who knows? What do I get out of pretending to be powerless? So these are some questions that we can all ask ourselves, like that fear of change, even though the change may be good and positive. And again, these things aren't usually top of mind, but they're wonderful things to really process with yourself. In fact, I'm doing a little self-study on my own, because I have this issue that I keep running into in my own life. And I'm like, what is going on with me that I keep bumping into this? And it's just a me thing. There's nobody else involved in it. So I'm doing a lot of asking myself these questions. What am I afraid of? If I let go of this control thing, what do I fear? What do I gain by staying in this level of fear or this level of anxiety in relation to whatever, right? So, in order to address any kind of fears of success that you have, you got to get in touch with what is going on with me. So, Carolyn, I think, I don't know if this was an aha for you today, but oh, I felt a little uncomfortable in my own skin before I lost the weight. And lo and behold, I still have that. So that's a me thing. What can I do to explore this issue with me and release my fears of that so I don't have to stay stuck in that, you know? Or, um, Michelle, this whole identity of being this great cook and this great, you know, ed- provider of fun and food and frivolity. How can I maintain my relationships while altering that? And Beverly, continuing to address, ooh, what's scary about this attention, or what's scary about this setting boundaries? I know you're working really hard on setting boundaries with friends and other people who would otherwise maybe take advantage of you if you let them, right? So the fears associated with that, maybe I won't be needed. Maybe they don't really like me, they just like my car. All the things that may be associated with those things. So we have to look at, what am I afraid of? And then maybe talk to a therapist or a coach or your friends, and give yourself permission to let these fears of success be real. because they are. When anything changes, a lot of things change. Big changes come with ripple effect changes. And when somebody loses a significant amount of weight and becomes more capable and more active and more out there are changes in every single area of your life. So I guess part of the point is to say it's normal to have fears of success. It's important to acknowledge them and to talk about them with others. And it's important to realize that they may change. Because, Carolyn, I'm guessing when you were 2 weeks out of surgery, your fears were a little different than they are now. And I'm guessing, Beverly, with the changes that have happened in your life in 2 years, I don't even know if you've had time to catch up with some of the fears that are going on. So I love that you are all very active in your support groups and therapy and the things you're doing for yourself, because that way you can deal with whatever happens to be going on. So let me just let each of you kind of summarize your thoughts about fears of success, maybe anything you've thought of today or something you might like to share with somebody else to help them on their journey. Whoever wants to go first, I won't make Carolyn go first.
I don't mind going this time, I guess. If I was to tell something, probably try not to compare yourself to others, and because everybody's goal or race or whatever, adventure is different. Um, I I was getting frustrated with things like, "Oh, I'm not dropping down as many clothes sizes as all these other people." Well, part of that is I don't want tight things on my body anyway, but also it just I have to wear what's comfortable for me. And 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 find somebody at a place that you're buying clothes at that they are positive and will help you look at things and try things that you would never try on. I would never have tried this blouse on had it not been for a lady who the minute I walk in that store, she could sell me half the store.
Mhm.
Um, those kind of things. Find the people, search out the people, and hang out with the people that do make you feel good
Yes.
in your journey.
Yes. Yes, I
But
love that.
working on yourself is and all of these things are tools. It's like painting the picture that's behind you, Connie. It takes a lot of different colors. It takes a lot of different brush strokes. It takes a lot of different tools.
What a great
And
analogy.
so, I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
I love it. And I just got to tell you, of course, I'm always impressed with your willingness to look at yourself and grow and make changes. Constant effort.
You push me.
Ha! I'm happy to do it. I'll give you a kick in the rear and a hug at the same time.
I know you got to remember everybody's journey is different. Mine's different from everybody. It's and don't be scared to step in your comfort zone because I did last year big time. I'm not a person that likes to stand in front of several hundred people, but I did. So I just remember you're gonna have a good day. Bad day. You remember to tell yourself you got up out of bed today, and if you're feeling overwhelmed, just stop, take a breath, and just you're not gonna be perfect at it, but you do your best effort. You do your
Yeah.
best.
And
Do your
yep.
best, and
Progress, not perfection.
you just hang in there. And look at
Indeed.
I keep a picture with me. It reminds me where I was at 5 years ago. And I had my friend to say to me, "Well, you just think about the weight thing too much." I said, "I don't go back to where I was 4 years ago."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's like
Yeah.
it reminds me to keep every day, keep fighting every
Absolutely.
day.
Absolutely. Good job. Effort every day, right? That's what it takes. Effort every day. Michelle.
I don't think I have too much because I'm so new still, in this journey. But one thing that's really helped me was I was so scared because, I never really gone through it. Nobody in my immediate family had gone through it. And I kind of started just hyperfixating on TikToks of people who have been through it. And on there commenting on it, people started reaching out to me to say, hey, we could become bariatric buddies. And then one of my colleagues just happened to mention one day that she had a gastric sleeve 10 years ago. So I was so excited and I was like, oh my goodness, wait, hold on. I have to ask you questions. So don't be afraid to ask those questions, especially of people who have been through it, because they were really able to set me at ease, to kind of calm me down, to know what I would be expecting. So then I could go into it, with an open mind and an open heart and, ready to go, to be able to ultimately just get your life back on track. Just do it, and surround yourself with people that are supportive of the journey, because otherwise, sometimes we're our own worst enemies and we can hold ourselves back.
I love that you all gave that same message in different ways. Stick with people who are going to encourage you to do things you wouldn't normally do, like wear a different kind of clothing or get in front of people and talk or ask questions you might not otherwise want to ask. So find the people who will work with you and don't be afraid to ask your questions. The fear of success is just as powerful as the fear of failure, and it's not a conscious thing. So make sure you talk about with people and be honest about how you're feeling every step of the way. It's not all sunshine and roses, but every step forward is a step forward. You guys, thank you so much for being willing to share your honest and vulnerable experiences, because I know that everybody listening is going to be able to relate. And I can't wait to hear what people have to say and in their support of you and how this information is helping them. So thank you all for being part of this episode. And it will air on Wednesday, February 5th, which is only in 2 days. So, all right. Reach out.
Thank
What's
you.
criteria?
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, guys. All right. I appreciate it. Talk soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.